Have you ever been in a conversation where someone wasn't just speaking to you, they were cornering you, their tone sharp, their words dipped in mockery, every sentence crafted not to communicate, but to cut? It might have started as a simple disagreement, but somewhere along the way, it turned into a verbal ambush. And when you walk away, you don't feel heard. You feel drained, disrespected, off balance. And here's what instinct tells you to do. Strike back, match their tone, flame for flame, word for word. But here's what Stoicism teaches us. Fire meets fire and only leaves ashes. What if you didn't react? What if you responded not to win, not to overpower, but to preserve your center and quietly shift the power back in your favor? Imagine having a toolkit, simple, sharp, stoic, verbal strategies you can use without raising your voice to diffuse the tension, protect your energy, and leave the other person questioning their own behavior. Because Stoicism doesn't ask us to become passive. It teaches us to become unshakable, to stop letting others hijack our emotional state, and instead lead with calm control. Because when you learn to stay still under fire, you don't just survive the conversation, you own it. In this video, we'll break down 6 real-life verbal tactics, each one rooted in timeless Stoic wisdom. You'll learn how to spot covert manipulation, diffuse twisted logic, stay grounded when provoked, and turn confrontation into clarity. By the end, you won't just know what to say. You'll understand why silence, timing, and calm phrasing are your sharpest blades. So think back. When was the last time someone used words to press your buttons to make you feel less? Now picture facing that moment again, but this time you're ready. Still, sharp, stoic. Let's begin. Spot the trap. Recognize hidden assumptions. Not all aggression sounds like shouting. Sometimes it wears a smile, wrapped in clever phrasing, polite tone, strategic delivery. Have you ever been asked a question that didn't feel like a question? It felt like a setup, because buried inside was a silent assumption you were supposed to accept without realizing it. Do we really want to go with an idea that no one supports? You still believe in those strange ideas. These aren't questions. They're traps engineered to make you defensive before you've even opened your mouth. And if you don't catch them, you'll start defending something you never even agreed to. Let me take you inside a real moment. A few years ago, in a team meeting, I pitched a strategy, data-backed, solid, but someone clearly resistant to change cut in with, "Are we sure we want to risk going down a path that most of us clearly disagree with?" On the surface innocent, measured, reasonable, but underneath it planted a false idea that the group was against me. I paused, breathed, and said I wasn't aware there was strong consensus against it. Has anyone raised specific concerns I may have missed? In one calm sentence, I did 2 things. I exposed the assumption. I invited actual dialogue. What happened next? Others spoke up. Turns out most of the team was on board. They were just waiting for someone else to go first. That's the power of spotting the trap. You stop the manipulator in their tracks without raising your voice. Let's take it further. Imagine a toxic workplace, the air thick with passive aggression, Someone throws out, "Are you saying your way is better than how we've always done it?" That's not a real question. It's pressure. It's designed to make you flinch, to make you apologize for thinking differently. But a Stoic doesn't take the bait. They shift the frame. They say, "Not at all. I'm exploring whether there's a more effective way forward. I'd love to hear your take as well." Anchored, calm, strategic, no surrender, no attack, just control reclaimed. Here's the Stoic truth. Manipulative questions don't seek clarity. They seek compliance. They hide behind courtesy while cornering you into silent agreement. But when you pause, ask, "What is this question actually assuming?" Then respond with clarity and calm. You don't just protect your position, you reveal the game. And you refuse to play it. Because the truth never fears questions. Only manipulation fears clarity. That's Stoic power. Not reacting, but recognizing. Not defending, but disrupting the script with logic, stillness, and quiet strength. Clarify before you defend. Escape the twisting game. Have you ever said something calm, thoughtful, honest, only to watch someone twist it into a version that has nothing to do with what you actually meant? You made a point. They made it personal. You spoke your truth. They turned it into a fight. That's the twisting game. And people don't always play it to win. They play it to control the flow of the conversation. Their goal isn't clarity. It's dominance. To pull you off balance. To make you chase after a meaning they've already distorted. I've seen it firsthand. In a meeting once, a colleague offered a thoughtful suggestion, simple workflow improvement. But someone resistant to change snapped back. "So you're saying everything we've done before is a complete failure?" Pause. It's a trap. And it works. If you take the bait. Because the moment you start defending something you never said, you've already surrendered the frame. But there's another way. A Stoic way. It's called echo. Clarify. Reframe. You echo the distortion just enough to expose it. You clarify your intention without defending your ego. Then you reframe the conversation back to logic, not emotion. Like this. "It sounds like there may have been a misunderstanding. What I actually said was, we could improve a few areas. That doesn't mean everything's broken. I'm simply inviting us to explore what's possible. No sarcasm. No over-explaining. Just clarity. Direction. Authority. Now, take this out of the office. Put it in the living room. You share a personal decision, something meaningful to you. And someone says, "So what?" You think we all did it wrong. You feel it rising, the need to defend, to explain, to prove your heart. But here's what Stoicism reminds us. You don't need to prove your heart to those who've already misjudged it. So you stay centered, and you say, "Not at all. I'm just sharing what's worked for me." We each walk our own path. Simple, anchored, unshakable. Here's the key. Most people try to win arguments by dragging you into their emotional storm. But when you clarify before you defend, you stay in the eye of the storm. Still, clear, focused. Because the truth is, no one can twist your words unless you chase after them. You don't need to fight misrepresentation. You need to restate your clarity, then move on. That's the Stoic way. The calmer you are, the more unhinged they look. The steadier your voice, the louder your presence becomes. You win, Not by being louder, but by being clearer. Unpack the loaded question. Deconstruct with calm logic. Some questions aren't really questions. They're traps designed not to seek clarity, but to corner you. They're phrased like curiosity, but powered by control. So you think you're better than us now, you're really going to risk everything on that. Don't you think you're being selfish? They sound casual, but they carry something heavier: judgment, pressure, manipulation. And here's the mistake most people make. They answer quickly, emotionally, automatically. And in doing so, they give away the one thing they should protect most: composure. Here's the truth. People who ask loaded questions are often speaking from fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of being challenged. Fear that your calm clarity threatens their fragile certainty. They don't want dialogue. They want dominance. But Stoicism shows us another path, a quiet path, a stronger path. Instead of reacting, you respond with intention. The strategy: delay, deflect, redirect, always wrapped in calm logic. Let's take a family moment. Your cousin scoffs and says, "You still wasting time reading those weird books?" That's not a question. It's a jab, a baited hook, a silent dare to overreact. But you don't. You smile. You pose. And you say, "I find wisdom in places others tend to overlook." What's something that gives you clarity? Just like that, you shift the frame. From mockery to introspection. From ego to curiosity. Now, step into the workplace. Your manager leans in. You're not suggesting we scrap the entire system, are you? It's not curiosity. It's a warning shot. A push to make you retreat. But you stay grounded and reply, "Not at all. I'm suggesting we explore what's working and where we might improve. I care about the outcome, just like everyone else." That moment right there, you've gone from reactive to directive. You're not defending, you're leading. Here's the Stoic truth. You don't control the questions others ask, but you always control how you answer. You don't owe fast replies. You don't owe emotional defenses. You owe yourself restraint, because in every moment of pressure, you have a choice: play their game or rewrite the rules. And when you choose logic over ego, principle over pride, you don't just protect your peace, you set the tone for the entire room. Reject the strawman calmly. Defend truth, not ego. There's a moment when you realize you're not being heard. You're being distorted. You shared a perspective, but somehow it's been twisted into a personal attack. Not by what you said, but by how they chose to reinterpret it. So, you're saying we're all wrong. Wow. You must think you're better than everyone else, so you don't care how anyone else feels. No, you didn't say that. You didn't even imply it. But now, you're cornered, backed into a choice: defend your character or walk away. Misunderstood. This tactic has a name. It's called the Strawman, when someone builds a weaker version of your words so they can easily destroy it. Most people react. They raise their voice. They scramble to clarify. They try to prove they're not the villain they've been painted as. But the Stoic path, very different. You don't fight distortion. You cut through it. The strategy: clarify intent, acknowledge nuance, beat curiosity. Let's break it down. Someone says, So you're saying people who disagree are just ignorant. A typical response, defensive, over-explaining. But the Stoic response, not at all. I'm sharing a view that's made sense to me. I also respect that others may see it differently. I'm open to hearing your take. 2. No hostility. No ego. Just calm. Strength. Clarity. That's how you hold your dignity while lowering the heat in the room. Now imagine it's online. You post something thoughtful. Someone replies, "What a condescending take." You must really love the sound of your own voice. You feel it rise, that urge to clap back, to explain, to crush them with facts. But here's what Stoicism teaches. Don't waste time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. You don't need to defend your ego. You need to protect your energy. If you reply, "It sounds like this. That wasn't my intent. But I hear your reaction, and I'll reflect on how it came across." You clarify. You stay open. But you don't collapse. You choose to stand in truth, not to chase validation, not to win an internet comment war. Because in the end, peace isn't found in proving you're right. It's found in staying rooted when others try to pull you out of character. So the next time your words are twisted, don't rush to fix the misunderstanding. Pause. Breathe. Speak with precision. And remember, it's better to be true than to be loud. Use metaphor as a mirror. Let images speak. Sometimes, the most powerful words aren't facts, aren't logics, aren't rebutals. They're images. Because when someone is angry, defensive, on edge, they rarely listen to argument, but they feel a picture, a symbol, a story. That's the power of metaphor. It doesn't argue, it bypasses the mind's defenses and whispers to the soul. I remember walking through a park once. A father, red-faced, frustrated, was yelling at his son over a spilled bottle of water. The boy's eyes filled with shame. I walked slowly over, paused, and said, calmly, "Anger is like a stirred-up pond. The more you shake it, the cloudier it becomes. But when you let it settle, the water clears on its own." The father paused, exhaled, Saturday down beside his son. His voice softened, and the entire moment shifted. Not because I told him what to do, but because I handed him a mirror and let him see for himself. That's what metaphor does. It opens a window without forcing anyone to look through it. When used well, a metaphor doesn't challenge someone's pride. It invites them to see on their own terms. Because the truth is, most people don't change when confronted. They change when something clicks inside. So next time you're in a tense conversation, instead of proving your point, try painting one. Here are a few you can carry with you. Anger is like smoke. It blinds before it burns. Words are like mirrors. They reflect intention. Silence is like a lock. It protects what matters. Each one, gentle, but undeniable. And if someone asks, "Why are you being so quiet?" you might say, "Sometimes the loudest wisdom comes in the quietest tone." That's Stoic communication. Not clever, but clear. Not reactive, but rooted. Not forceful, but firm in kindness. Because the goal isn't to win. The goal is to guide. And the person across from you They may not be ready to hear logic, but they may be ready to see something deeper. If you offer them the right image, the right symbol, the right mirror. So ask yourself, what picture can I offer that leads them back to clarity without ever raising my voice? Reveal. Agreement gently. Align before you challenge. Sometimes you and the other person want the exact same thing, but the moment tension rises, you stop seeing alignment and start seeing opposition. What if the conflict wasn't about values, but about method? What if they're not your enemy, just someone afraid you're walking a different path? That's where a Stoic makes a different move. They don't argue. They listen. They align. They lead. Let me tell you a story. I had just moved into a new community. During a neighborhood meeting, one neighbor, clearly frustrated, complained about how confusing and annoying the new waste system had become. And I'll be honest, I felt defensive. I had helped design that system. But instead of correcting him, I paused. I listened, and I realized he wasn't against the environment. He just hated bad design. So I said, "It sounds like we both care about keeping this place clean. Maybe we can work together to make it simpler for everyone." He blinked, paused, then nodded. Just like that, the tension vanished. We weren't opponents anymore. We were partners sharing the same value. This is called value framing, a subtle way to show that beneath the disagreement, there may already be common ground. It sounds like this. Could it be that we're aiming for the same goal, just in different ways? Now, you're not pushing back. You're walking beside them. Let's bring this into a harder space, political debate. Someone rejects your idea loudly, aggressively, and your instinct is to fight back with facts, force, fire. But instead, you ask, do you think your concern comes from wanting to protect freedom and safety because I care deeply about those things too? Just like that, you take the air out of the fight. Because here's the truth. Most conflict isn't about difference. It's about fear and the illusion of distance. When you gently guide someone back to their core values, you give them space to relax, to think, to reconnect. Not because you cornered them, but because you helped them see they already believe what you're trying to say. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. You don't need to win debates. You don't need to outsmart anyone. You need to lead with quiet conviction." So next time someone pushes back hard, ask yourself, what do they value? And how can I speak to that? Before I speak against their view, that's not manipulation. That's wisdom. Because the Stoic doesn't chase being right. The Stoic seeks what's true and helps others see it for themselves. It's not the words that make you powerful. It's the calm beneath them. Let's step back and look at what we've really learned. Because these 6 techniques, they're not about manipulation. They're not about control. And they're definitely not about outsmarting anyone. They're about self-mastery. They're about staying calm. When someone tries to drag you into their storm, let's recap. 1. You recognized hidden assumptions and paused, instead of walking into the trap. 2. You clarified before defending, refusing to fight distortion, choosing clarity instead. 3. You dismantled loaded questions not with emotion, but with wisdom and space. 4. You let go of ego, held onto truth, choosing principle over pride when misrepresented. D. You used imagery, not force, inviting reflection instead of resistance. 6. Jaw. And you found agreement where none seemed possible by speaking to shared values beneath the noise. That's not just communication. That's leadership. That's Stoicism in action. Because real power isn't in how sharp your words are. It's in how still you can remain. While the world tries to provoke a reaction, as a Stoic might say, the goal isn't to win arguments. It's to protect your peace and lead with quiet power. And that's what you're building, not a louder voice, but a stronger presence, not the need to win, but the ability to walk away unshaken. So now let me ask you, have you ever used one of these strategies to disarm tension without losing your center? Drop it in the comments. Let's learn from each other's quiet victories. Tap like if this message reminded you that silence can be stronger than sound. And if you're walking this path toward calmer speech, deeper strength, and emotional discipline, hit subscribe, because we're not here to react louder. We're here to respond wiser. And remember, the strongest voice in the room is often the one that doesn't need to raise itself at all.